Mom guilt is a liar. Hey guys, welcome back to the Mom is in Control podcast. You know who I am. I'm Heather Chauvin. I have a few announcements going on. As you know, I've haven't been posting as much as usual, and I feel like my head is getting back in the game, and I'll be talking more about what I'm doing behind the scenes. Man, oh man, magic unfolds when you give yourself permission to go for what your heart and your soul and those deep, deep desires. And I want to talk a little bit about the process of guilt, because I was reflecting back on how this journey truly started for me. And I remember back in the day when giving myself time to take a shower was tremendously painful, meaning I felt so guilty. I felt like I was the worst human being in the entire world for wanting anything for myself. And at the time, when I looked around, everybody, the norm was, the belief system, the story was, you are selfish. You are selfish, you are selfish, you are selfish. So how do you break outside of this box and give yourself permission to go for what you want when the feedback that you're constantly getting is you are selfish if you do anything for yourself and you feel tremendously guilty? So before I dive into today's episode, I want to tell you two things. One, we have a handful of mastery spots available. And what is happening, I'm walking down the street and it's nighttime, but everyone apparently likes to go for motorcycle rides. So if you hear the cars, I apologize for that. So we have a handful left for mastery, and then once my spots are full, they will not reopen until probably next year. My business is transitioning, and what I mean by that is anyone who's getting in with me in mastery is getting that one-on-one time with me. I will not be offering this in any other capacity. I offer mastery and soul elite. I have limited time and space available on my coaching calendar for that. So if this is something that you are interested, then get your application in. So head on over to momisincontrol.com. Click on the apply now, watch that video. There's a link below. It talks about the difference between mastery and soul elite. Mastery is for you if you are a woman, an ambitious woman, go-getter, and you do not feel like you're living in alignment. You're overwhelmed, overworked, probably on the verge of burnout. Your health is struggling, whether that's mental or physical. And, you might be making good money or you might not, but regardless, you know that your current lifestyle is not sustainable. You might be yelling at the kids, you might be reacting, and you're just like, not this. I don't want to be this anymore. I don't want to yell. I don't want to scream. I want to find that peace. I want to find that contentment and that ease. So in the core foundation, Mastery is all about, it's an 8-month coaching experience. So you get one-on-one coaching with me, laser focused coaching. You have the dynamic of a group. So there's other ambitious women there too, in the sense of community. We also have guest teachers that come in that complement what I'm teaching you, and I kind of just listen and survey you guys on what you're struggling with or where you're being challenged, and I'll bring in guest experts as well. And because I attract a lot of women in business, not everybody is in business, and what I teach is not business. I teach more so leadership. So how do you need to show up in your life as a woman so that you can be everything to everyone without feeling depleted? So portion of what I teach as well, some of the content, and we have websites and libraries full of past workshops and things like that. as I show you that. How can you create a more sustainable business model? And not, like I said, not everybody I work with owns a business. I actually work with a lot of women in corporate as well, or stay-at-home moms, because I believe that is the hardest job in the entire world. And you're utilizing, I believe that our work in the world, like business is just a title, but there's so many of these productive strategies that we can use in our life that help us feel in alignment. So work, relationships, money, time, energy, we're going to look at everything, and then I'm going to help you dream. So I'm going to help you get to that deep core desire of what is that? What does that look like in your life? What does that feel like? And how can you live in alignment with that? There is an application, so head on over to mamasincontrol.com. Click on the application, and then you'll go through an application process. So once I've personally read your application, I will respond, and then you'll get on the phone with somebody on my team. And then if that feels like a good fit, you'll move on to the next step, which is connecting with me, and we'll go from there. So mastery is for the person who's ready to invest. It's a big leap, right? You're being shown, you're being called out on your stuff, you're being pushed, you're being challenged. This is about you becoming the best version of yourself for your children, because I'm a huge believer that we cannot expect our children to become or do anything if we are not willing to become and do that ourselves. So that's kind of why I want to talk about mom guilt. Another thing, if you're not ready for mastery, what I'm offering now until October 15th is $100 off my energetic time management course. So if you're like, no, I can't do mastery, I think I just got a bug in my mouth. But you want more time and you want to feel in alignment with your day to day. This is not about managing your time. This is about managing your energy. And I'm going to teach you that process through my energetic time management workshop. So you can actually head on over to my website, heatherchauvin.com/ETM. And the $100 is already taken off, so it's actually only $197 right now until October 15th, and then it will be going up to $297. So it's fall where I live. This feels like a new year, right? It's a new start. Started off on the right foot. So if you're not ready to dive into coaching, but you want a little something, you want a little guidance, this is a great tool and strategy to get you started. So head on over to heatherchauvin.com/ETM, $100 off until October 15th. Okay, I'll shut up about the promos now. Mom guilt is a lie. So guys, I want to say that I am the queen of guilt. They say you give birth to guilt. Oh, Lordy, I feel like I've felt guilty my whole life. I grew up taking care of my mother, and everything that I did, I felt guilty. And I realized that this was partly who I am, right? When we are those women who want to take care of the world, right? We might be labeled as sensitive or empaths. You feel guilty for everything. You want to be able to fix everybody. You want to be able to rescue everybody. You want to be able to help. So we feel guilty for doing anything for ourselves. And if there are people in our lives that feel shitty about themselves and they're really good at projecting their crap onto everybody else, oh my gosh, you'll be the first person that they project it on. And then what happens? You feel even more guilty. So then sometimes you don't act on it. I heard Brendan Burchard, is that how you say his name? Speak last week at a conference. And I wrote down this quote that he said, and I was like, this is brilliant. He said, listen through the fear. I've heard quotes like, co-create with fear, lean into the fear. But this one, listen through the fear. It really hit home. Because I feel like guilt is a topic that more women are talking about, and it's more so women than men. I don't really hear men talk about guilt a lot. And one thing that People have been saying this to me a lot lately, like, I feel guilty, or I won't do that, or, oh, I could never do that. And I feel like we wear this mask of guilt. We wear this cloak of guilt very well as women. Like, oh, I could never. And I think that guilt is a mask of fear. Because if I said, I could never do that, or I can't do that today, I have the kids. I can't do that today, I have the kids. Well, it would be very easy to get a babysitter, or it would be very easy to rearrange something. Have you ever noticed how people will say, I can't, I have the children, but when it comes to work, they make it happen, right? They have to get a sitter. They have to go to work. They have to rearrange their schedules. They make it happen. They leave the child. If your child is in daycare per se, okay, let's just say your child's in daycare and you work till 5. If I said to you, they're like, oh, I don't have time to exercise. It's like, okay, go right after work. Oh, I can't. I feel so guilty leaving my child at daycare. They've been there since 7 o'clock in the morning. But if your boss said to you, you have to stay another hour later, and you had to pick up your child at 6, let's say, you would do it, right? Because you would think you would have to. But the truth is, a lot of us are not living in alignment with what we want, especially women. We're not living in alignment with what we want. We're living in alignment with everyone else's expectations of us. So then, again, that mask of guilt, because at the core of it, it's, who am I to feel good? Who am I to be successful? Who am I to be happy? Who am I, and this is all shit that I've dealt with, who am I to say parenting is easy for me? That I don't struggle as much as what I see other people doing because I've done the work. Who am I? Who am I? We use our children as scapegoats. Not only that, mom guilt is a lie because a lot of us allow ourselves to play small because we're using our children as scapegoats. And what I mean by that is we're hiding behind them. I remember when, I've done this many times. I can't go to the gym. I can't work out. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. All of things that were life enhancing that would get me closer to how I want to feel in my life. And I said, I use my kids as excuses. Because if my children were removed from the equation, that's actually really scary and uncomfortable, and I don't want to do that. I see this a lot with women when it comes to my retreats and in general, just doing luxurious things. Oh, I can't. Well, we don't go on vacation a lot as a family. So if I get away, everybody has to come, or I feel really guilty just doing something for myself. Or if I do this, then my husband's going to put the guilt trip on me. And another thing that I've discovered or learned through the work that I've been doing with people, I talk a lot about emotional intelligence, which is the ability to just understand emotion and to sit with the discomfort. A lot of people don't like to be uncomfortable. Actually, I'd say 9 out of 10 people in society do not like to be uncomfortable. And what I teach you in parenting is to learn to sit with your child's tantrum, to learn to sit with your child's discomfort, and to see their anger and not react, right? So mom guilt is a lie. Because what happens is, whether somebody's putting the guilt trip on you, whether you're putting the guilt trip on yourself, emotional intelligence will tell you, awesome, is it true? Like, sit with it. Sit with it. Is it that you really feel guilty? What if that wasn't even part of the equation? What if it was all taken care of? What if you did have that sitter? What if money wasn't the issue? What if time wasn't the issue? What if energy wasn't the issue? What if your husband or partner or mom or dad or whatever was completely supportive of your choices? Then what would be your excuse? You would just be left with guilt. Oh, I just don't like this uncomfortable feeling. Right? I could tell you crazy stories and you probably be shaking your head going, been there. I used to feel guilty when I put my newborn babies in their crib. Like I was taking time away from them. They were fucking sleeping. They were napping. And I'm like, I should be with them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And when I fed into the guilt, what happened was I became depleted. And my body was saying, Heather, pay attention to me. You are neglecting me. And when you neglect me, I become depleted. And when you become depleted, then you get angry and resentful. So then I would look at these little babies and I would say, stop gnawing on my boobies. Stop gnawing on my tits. And I would be angry. And then I would react. All because I felt guilty for doing anything for myself. I'd feel guilty for giving my child a bottle of formula, because, we get judged for all this crap, because my boobs hurt, because I wasn't getting a good night's sleep, because, I just wanted to go out and hang out with an adult and have an adult conversation, and I couldn't do that without breastfeeding, but I couldn't pump enough, so then I had to give a bottle of formula, and then my child was crying, and I'm an awful human being. We have to start analyzing and dissecting the guilt. I hear so many women talk about sacrifice. I sacrificed my career for this child. I sacrificed this. And I get it. We all are sacrificing so much. But why are you doing it? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the other side. You need to listen through your guilt. You need to listen to that little tiny voice inside of you that says, what do I want? Not what does the world want from me? What do I want? And you have to listen to that little tiny voice under the guilt, under the mask. Remember, it's just a mask. It's going to do everything in its power to hold you still. Everything in its power to keep you small. That's how our brain is wired. We are wired for survival. But we live in a culture where we are no longer cavemen and women. We are beyond survival mode, and this is how we evolve as a planet. And as you can see, if we don't evolve pretty soon, I don't know if this earth is going to be able to handle us, because we're really fucking it up. You need to show up. You need to feel good. Because if we don't kill our planet and die off as a species, we're going to start killing each other. You need to feel whole. You need to feel energized. So being on the other side, I feel guilty every day. It pops up all the time. I feel guilt more than I feel fear. I felt guilty for going for a walk to record this podcast. I feel it all the time. I was looking at my youngest, Felix, and his 6th birthday was a few days ago. And I just kept looking at him and thinking, you're growing so fast. And there's this balance between guilt and sadness. It's the grief. It's the grief of motherhood and parenting that nobody talks about. So maybe sometimes your mask is actually sadness. Maybe the guilt is masking the sadness. Maybe the guilt is masking the grief. Those emotions underneath that you don't even want to go near. Because holy shit, if you go near them and you open that can of worms, what might happen? On the other side of everything that you are fucking terrified of is freedom, is the life that you want to be living. So when I looked at him, I thought, I can have two thoughts right now. I could throw everything away and just eat him up, spend every waking moment with him, homeschool him, sleep with him, do everything. Smell his little cheeks and just hug him and kiss him all the time and hold him near and tight. Or I can look at him and say, I am so bloody grateful. And I can have tears rolling down my face for this moment, and this moment, and this moment, and this moment. And realize that me holding my children so deeply close to me that they can barely breathe and experience life because their mother just can't get enough. How is that going to create independence in my children? How is that going to create socialization in my children? How is that going to give my children the opportunity to explore the world? How is that going to give my children the opportunity to figure out who they are and what they want to do in this world? And that is scary, beautiful. There's so much grief in that. There's so much amazingness of like, where did the last 6 years go? And also remembering who I was 6 years ago, feeling completely broken and terrified. And on the other side, being able to look at my son and think, oh my gosh, go. So I think guilt, mom guilt, is a liar. I think we all give birth to it. We adopt it. It comes into our life. You don't actually have to have children to feel guilty. I mean, we all feel guilty at some point. But my point is, I think it's a mask. I think it's there to keep us safe. It's a socially acceptable excuse to play small. And the second you listen through the guilt, what happens is you start to crack open those parts of you that not a lot of people are willing to go to. And hopefully you've discovered that mom is in control is not about controlling your children and controlling everybody else around you. I mean, we can be type A, but it's about controlling ourselves and becoming the person that we were born to be. And the more I listen through the guilt, the more I listen through the fear, the more I unpacked, why do I feel so bad for this? Why do I feel bad? Like literally walking away for 20 minutes. Why? And I pull that mask off and I do the work underneath. That's where the magic happens. And you're not here. You're not listening to this podcast because you want to live a mediocre life. I will tell you, it's not about more. It's actually about being okay with what's in front of you. It's about quality over quantity. And when you see people in your life, and I see this all the time, people busying themselves, going from here to here to here to here to here. They're running away from themselves. So don't run away from the guilt. Don't allow it to consume your identity. Don't allow it to be a socially acceptable excuse of why you don't go after what your soul is craving. Because I'm going to let you in on a little secret. When you listen through the guilt and you give yourself permission to do those things that you will get judged for, freedom is on the other side. And that is the only reason why I am able to look at my son and say, I got you. I got this. You know I am here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I will cut off my arms and my limbs, and I will cut out my eyeballs, and I will give you my heart. Any organ you need, I will give it to you. And I will also hold this vulnerable space in myself and my life to allow you to grow, to allow you to become who you were born to be. But in order for me to do that, I cannot suffocate you. I cannot be your everything. You cannot be my everything. Because there is so much more to life than these children. They are just a part of us, but they are not our everything. They are one piece to the bigger puzzle. And when I don't make it about myself and I make it about them, I think, how do I want them to feel? And I do not want my children playing small. Mom guilt is a liar. Thank you so much, ladies, for listening today. I want to hear from you. I want to know about your guilt. What are the stories that guilt tells you? Let me know. Send it to me at support@HeatherChauvin, so CHAUVIN.com. Send me an email. And if you're ready to leap, but you're absolutely terrified, I want you to listen through the guilt and head on over to momisincontrol.com and apply today for mastery. And if you've been thinking about the energetic time management workshop but haven't acted on it, now is the time. So head on over to HeatherChauvin, CHAUVIN.com/ETM. And it's $100 off until October 15th. Talk soon.